Hello and welcome to Talking with Famous People. My name is host Eric, and I am the host of Talking with Famous People, and I am here with host Trenton, who's also the host of Talking with Famous People, and a bunch of famous people, and that includes Zach Attack, Nandi, Mr. Haberdasher, JD, JC, the singing Jahante, um, Jahante C, as they call her in the recording industry. And she's got quite a set of pipes on her, as they say. I was really happy to hear how it came together with instruments like that. It makes it sound like you know how I mean, like, oh, that sounds like I'm a real song maker, where you get like a real singer to come and sing for you and shit, and then it sounds all cool, because sounds all professionally sung. So good job, JC. Anyway, let's talk emotions. That made me happy when I finished that and listened to it a few times. And when I saw, I'll tell you what convinced me more than anything else, though, that it was maybe making me happy, or contributed to making me happy, was the quick thumbs up on it. So it was well received. It got 4 thumbs up in the first like 20 views or something, which is really good, and suggests that the addition of that voice helped a lot. So I'm hoping that JC and I can collaborate again on some other stuff too. But I do want to get a final remix on that. Regardless, my happiness comes through my thinking. I don't know how happy I am with something at first. I have a good sense of whether I like it or not. But actually feeling the happiness, that's going to depend on the thinking coming through and verifying of it. I'm guessing probably that's not the case for most people. If you're feeling happy, what does it feel like?
Um,
There's different types of being happy. There's like a feeling of fulfillment, there's joy, there's love. I think there's different versions.
I don't think love and happiness are the same thing, though. I'll take joy, but I don't think love.
I concur.
when I'm feeling happy, everything kind of feels harmonious in my life.
So it feels like
You made a great point.
things aren't falling apart.
Yeah, like everything is like doing the complete opposite. Like everything is together in one, flowing together, I suppose. Or just everything's going alright. Like now, I guess I'm happy.
You guess, right? See, if you were to ask me, well, how do you feel right now, Eric? I would say, where do I check again? Where do I look for that again? I don't know how do I feel. I mean, I'm smiling. Well, I'm happy, right? I don't know. I noticed that a lot of my facial expressions and my vocal displays of happiness are probably FE stuff. I've been working on cutting some of it out, because I think it's more than it needs to be. It's a little clumsy as a consequence. I want it to be successful. I don't want to cut it out entirely or anything like that. When I say I'm editing, so to speak, to make it better, not to eliminate it.
Be better not to eliminate FE?
I'm saying, for me, I'm trying to edit down some of those more explicit displays of FE
Oh.
in order to be more effective at it. But that's very much a thinking process for me. And it's a thinking process of being conscious of editing my habits and my reflexes that I never thought about. That's the cheap ass version of FE karate that they gave me.
Yeah, earlier this week I tried what Trenton is always talking about, being objective with your emotions, and I utterly failed. It was miserable. I couldn't do it. I got like 5 seconds into it, but it wasn't working for me. Sorry, JC, what are you saying?
JC, is that you? I don't know. So you tried being objective about your emotions, and what does it mean to try to be objective about your emotions?
I tried to, well, what it sounds like basically, I tried to like look at them from an objective standpoint and see what I was feeling and like why I was feeling it and try and just like work through why I was feeling it and how I could solve my problem. And the only way to, like, it was an FE problem basically. Like I was supposed to like, basically what happened was I told a lady at my job that I was available at all times of the day, and like work starts at 7, and she texted me at 8, and I didn't get until like 9 because I overslept, and I felt really, really badly about it. So I freaked out. I was like, "Oh my God, this is all my fault." I felt really badly for like 10 minutes, and then I apologized to her, and eventually she said, "Yeah, you're right. You're all right. You're fine." And so then I felt better about it, and so like my emotions weren't solved until she told me it was all right. Before that, I tried to like objectify them or whatever, and it didn't work. I was like, until this lady tells me that like what I was doing wasn't completely terrible and like world ending, I'm not gonna be alright. But then I was alright. And then I like viewed them from an objective standpoint after I felt better. So I just kinda had to like get through it.
I had those kind of FE experiences a lot when I was an employee at Rebay. When I became an administrator, I realized that those things are totally unnecessary. And the reason they're unnecessary is you don't know how badly everybody else is performing.
True.
So when I would make mistakes, I would be comparing it to what I thought in my head a teacher who was handling all of his shit would be doing.
Yeah.
But that's not what the administrators were comparing it to. They were comparing it to what the other teachers were doing. And I didn't understand this until I became an administrator, but I was actually doing a much better job than most of my colleagues, even when I was doing a shitty job. That's how low the level of performance is in a lot of ways. You know, that's why it's important to have, I think, a narrow objective when you're taking on a job, because you get people and you're sort of bringing them in on their general skills and general knowledge, like with a teacher, and you don't give them any really clear criterion of success, then they just follow the rules to the extent they have to not get in trouble. There are a lot of slackers out there in the teaching profession. Myself, I was too when I was a teacher. It's something that coaching doesn't allow, you know. So I think those FE problems like that you're talking about are common for people who are employees, and I think it's a symbol of what's wrong with that kind of a structure, where people are controlled through fear, basically. Fear of getting in trouble. Adults, fear of getting in trouble.
I have an interesting observation. I'm sorry to interrupt, Nandi. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine.
Okay. I feel as if here's one thing that's been consistent. I feel like people in the beginning, people experience the same emotion, but it's how it manifests within your functional stack is how you deal with it. And I feel like most of the time, how each type deals with it is through their decision-making function, their second function. So, like Nandi said, she couldn't feel better until she used FE and heard that person say they were feeling all right. Me and Eric do not feel better until we have objectified it, understood its objective origin through TI. That is when we cope with it, and that's when we understand it. And I feel like if we can't cope with it through our second function, through the decision-making function, it gets handed down our functional stack and continue getting worse and worse. And I think that's when people end up in like the grip experience, for example. When an ENTP can't handle it through TI, it gets handed off the FE. If your emotions get, if an ENTP's emotions get handed off the FE, shit goes south. It goes bad.
And if they get all the way down to SI, your electricity gets turned off. This is what happened with my electricity, right? I couldn't deal with the electricity problem, which is write a check and put it in the envelope and put a stamp and seal it and put it in the mailbox. That's the problem, okay? This is the challenge I was facing. I had a bill that required me to take 5 minutes to write a check and put it in the envelope, and mail it off. So my first thing is looking for possibilities. I think, well, how can I get this thing handled without me doing it at all? I'm going to spend hours thinking about how to get around doing it, but not 5 minutes doing it. So, and then I was unable. There's no possibility. There's no way to get around it. There's no way to avoid having to do anything and still pay your electric bill. So I go to my TI. Well, Eric, you should just pay it, probably. No, that's not what I want to do. I don't like having this responsibility. It shouldn't be my responsibility. This is what my TI fought back, right? TI fought back against itself. So fine, let's go to FE. Who can I get to do this for me? So I call, try to get my ex-wife to do it for me. She won't do it for me. I try to hire somebody to do it for me, Cameron. He fails to do it for me, and my electricity gets turned off, and I have to pay $1,000 to get it turned back on. And
Oh my God.
so yeah, that's what. And it didn't get down to SI because I thought I sort of had it dealt with when I got Cameron to do it, but the problem was I didn't. Again, Cameron needs extremely clear instructions on everything. Not just make sure nothing bad happens. This is basically my instructions. Just fucking handle it. Here's my checkbook. I'll write my signature on a couple of them. Here, fucking send some checks up. I don't know. Make it happen.
How do you think this? How do you think the theory of it going down your functions until it's dealt with is applicable to INFJs?
I think for FE, if it's not solved in FE, then if it gets to TI, it's pretty bad, because then you'll start, like, trying to, let's see. You'll start coming up with all these, like, logical fallacies of, like, what could have possibly happened. So, like,
Yeah.
for that example that I used, if she hadn't have, like, told me that it was alright or whatever, like, affirmed what I'd sent or whatever, then, like, I was about to start coming up with a whole bunch of, like, bad, like, responses to the word, or to, what I was saying, or what I did, or, like, things that could, like, possibly happen after that. A bad thing, like, ways that she could interpret it negatively, and that could affect me later on. So, like, a whole lot of that would have happened.
So does this theory make sense to you?
Huh?
Does it make sense? I think it's
Yeah,
correct.
it does. Yeah,
Yeah, in
kind of
fact-
pictured it as, like, the emotion trickles down the structure,
Yeah.
or the functional stack, and as there's less to deal with, it gets, like, more outlandish, and you like deal with it in worse ways as it gets more.
Yeah,
That's
and-
why.
I think
The worst thing.
Trenton, I was going to actually say after you first said this, and I didn't say it because I got sidetracked by some other tangent, but yeah, I think it's totally hugely insightful, actually, that's exactly what happens, that you sort of try it with one, then the second, then the third, then the fourth. Except I would say that the problem is going to emerge from, if it's a conscious problem you're dealing with, it's going to emerge from your fourth. So my problems are going to be SI problems mostly. If it's a problem I really don't understand, it's going to be a seventh function problem. And so I don't think it's just an emotion that gets passed down. I think it's a problem that gets passed down. And the problem is going to depend on environmental factors, but it's most likely to come from your fourth function would be my guess. So INTJ problems are going to be SE related. ISFP problems are going to be TE related. And, it's like, well, what am I supposed to do? The rules aren't providing me an answer. Oh, let me look to my feelings first. Oh, well, those confuse me again. Well, let me look to taking some sort of action. Oops, I don't know what action to take. Oh, well, let me figure out what action to take with NI. Okay, that seems pretty true. Okay, let's try that. That would be sort of the ISFP's experience of it. But
Here's another. I have the moment of realization. I figured out this is happening. I'm going to try to go through this as fast as possible. I don't want to get off on too long of a tangent. I've been experiencing some kind of something. I can't identify it. Some kind of emotional turmoil that is lurking within my psyche, and I cannot pinpoint it. It's driving me fucking berserk. But all I know is it started with TI, right? And I found myself being a little bit more obsessive. But I was more investigative. I was trying to figure out something. I was analyzing everything and trying to comprehend the the physical elements of it at first. And then when it got handed off to FE, I think that I entered an NEFE loop. And I'm not sure why that happens, but I instantly started to become more social. I was taking more risks socially, and that utterly failed. And it made that experience with the girl I was talking about, like the impulsive, I don't know what the fuck's happening, I'm gonna make plans and have sex with this girl, and it was a total disaster. And it was a big fuck up. And then then it gets handed off, things worse now. It gets handed off to SI. And then now I've been hyper fucking contract. Like everything that I feel or anything like that, like the thing that's like, have I been getting enough sleep? Have I been eating enough? Do I have fucking kidney stones? Testicular cancer? What is this cramp in my leg? Am I dying? Before I'm not sure if it can get handed off to my shadow conscious or not.
Well, Trenton, obviously the problem here, Trenton, is that you didn't know what the problem was. That's the problem, because it's a 7th function problem, right? You weren't able to identify the problem, so you couldn't come up with any possibilities about how to deal with it. As you thought about it, that's not doing you any good because it's a feelings problem, and you're trying to think your way into your feelings. It can work, but it's not very revelatory because you can think your way into whatever feeling you want to think your way into, pretty much. Either that, or you can't, no matter what. So then you went to FE and you said, "Oh, I'm gonna go receive affirmation from the group and others by being more social and stuff." But what you're supposed to do, with FE is go find some specific other person to help you with it. You're not supposed to do that. And then
I did the opposite of that.
Next time, say, okay, who's the one person who can help me with this? I'm gonna call that person. They're gonna help me with it.
It was so funny. Literally for that day, I was in FE. I dressed nice. I woke up and I looked in my fucking closet and I was like, "This looks sociably acceptable. I bet I'd look good in that fucking shirt." Just for that one day.
Let's make it FE Tuesdays from now on. FE Tuesdays. I want everyone to hype up their FE on Tuesdays. They're going to work. Good morning, everybody. I'm here. How are you?
Oh my god, I would die.
Oh my god.
All right, other people's thoughts on Fs. Fi, Fe. Mr. Haberdasher, any thought on your feelings or feelings of others?
Yeah, let's say, I guess I get triggered easily, and I guess whether or not my FE is my first go-to feeling or it just falls down right there, I easily get triggered and I fall down to FE whenever I ended up getting told if I'm wrong, or if if I'm in an argument, in a verbal argument, and if someone out verbals me, if that's a better word, prove I'm completely wrong in the scenario. That's what after that it entirely triggers my emotional response, and it gets me horribly pissed off and angry because I feel like I'm inferior or inadequate to that person, and I guess I let feelings dictate my actions a lot. And if I don't let my feelings dictate, I guess I resort to talking things out, mediating, things like that.
Okay. I think with a lot less legitimate cause, I'm fairly trigger prone, which is to say I know certain areas of thought are areas of thought I really ought not to go to because they're going to feel a lot of feelings. As an ENTP, it's easy for me to compartmentalize, they say, but it's not really compartmentalizing, it's just thinking about something else. But here's the thing. I also know that there's certain, I have this song called Hunt for Stories, and it's like a nostalgia song that I made, and it's got pictures of me and Delilah mostly, or me and my friends before Delilah was born. It's got pictures of 20 years of my life or so, and I watched it the first bunch of times. It made me very, very sad. Eventually I was able to desensitize myself to it. So I don't know if that's something that is actually, or some people do, other types do, or is it possible to do that if it's not seventh?
I'm actually, this is one of those moments where I'm like, this is such a statistical anomaly that I don't even want to say anything because of how unlikely this scenario has to be. But I literally have two things that trigger me in my life. And these triggers are so prevalent that I do not have an emotional response really to anything but these things. One, have you ever seen American History X?
No.
No.
Well, it's an older movie, but there's a scene where some guy's arguing, and the scene, for some reason, it takes me back to some point in my childhood or something. Anyways, and the other is a song, and it's a song called "Me versus Maradona versus Elvis," and this song.
It's a great title.
It's a very, you have to listen to it. It's actually really good, but I can't listen to it. I can't. There's a lot of songs that I have triggers to, but I couldn't tell you how many of those songs actually triggers to because I avoid them at all costs. So this song, every time I hear it, and I know the first few seconds of it, when I hear it, I feel like I'm going to lose my fucking mind. It's like I'm literally being put exactly back in the moment of which the stuff occurred in the original thing, and I just want to avoid it. Can't listen to the song at all. I don't know. Just look at the song.
I think a lot of types get a lot of emotional activation from music. I think that's why ENTPs are often very enamored with music, is because it allows us to understand feelings, or at least experience them. I think now I'm able to notice that's what's happening. Because when I was younger, I literally didn't have enough information about cognition. It's not something anybody ever talked about when I was growing up, or anything like different types of people or different ways of dealing with one's emotions that made any sense to me. People would say, it's like, it doesn't make any sense to you if you're in the seventh slide. Everybody's talking about these things, and you're just sort of assuming that, well, I get it too. I know what they're talking about. I know what they're talking about. They're talking about, like the words that people say to each other, like "I love you," and the things I say to my parents, and the things the emotional expressions that I've been trained represent my attachment to things, basically. And but there's no education when I was growing up, and probably still now, where people go, okay, each of you is going to deal with your emotions in a distinct way, and how that is going to be different from somebody else, but not unique. So you need to understand that these lessons need to be differentiated by type as well, probably. So I was never taught anything at all about that. It was a challenge for me.
I thought of something interesting not too long ago, and it was another reason why ENTPs are prone to arguing and disputes in general. And I think it stems from the seventh slot F5, and that when we do feel something, even if it's an unconscious emotional reaction, we want to do the opposite of it. We want to argue against it. And when we actualize externally, it's like if you're listening to somebody say something, right? And you can say, and I sometimes randomly want to argue shit that I feel like I have no fucking reason to argue. And I think it stems from me actually having some subjective value, feeling like I had it attacked unconsciously, and then me vocalizing my defense of FI externally. I feel like that could be it. I feel like that's why I react so vehemently to some things. It's like I'm fighting FI. So like
right. Well, I agree. I mean, it's definitely true that we tend to act out in some way or another when we're feeling emotions, not being aware that that's why we're acting out. Any other people want to chime in on their experience with emotions? I would love to have INFP listener chime in. I know that he or she never does, but the reason being, INFP is my supervisor type. So I'm glad INFP listeners here supervising me. I want to learn more from INFP, but I don't get to talk much to INFP because INFP is not very open and sharing with their feelings. I tend to say if to the extent that I say negative things about a type, I tend to say more things that might be construed as negative about the INFP than any other type. I want to stress every time I do talk about the INFP, I'm sorry if you feel attacked. I don't mean to attack you. I'm trying to give sort of an objective perspective on my position on what the cognitive function stack is likely to manifest as. And I do know that if you get a handle on it and you figure out how to make that shit work, and I'm not going to be able to help you because I don't have that set of things to deal with, But if you do figure out how to make it work, you'll be really powerful. So anyway, anybody else want to talk about emotions? JC, how are you feeling? Have we talked to you about your emotions yet?
I think I don't know if I said this before, but I think I feel my emotions.
You think
That's
you feel
the
them?
easiest way to. What?
You think you feel
Is
them?
it where?
No, I
Yeah,
said
I think-
okay. What do they feel like?
Um.
Are they squishy?
No.
Which emotion do you identify with most right now? Coquettish, demure, or full of malaise?
What? What was the last one?
Full of malaise.
I don't even know what that means.
That means
But none of
it means
those.
just like eh. The first one, coquettish means that's coquettish, and then the second one, demure means you decide.
I kind of know what coquettish and demure are, but I don't feel either of those currently.
Do you feel turgid? Turgid. I'm telling not just for you. I'm not assuming you don't know the meaning of these, but I'm saying for the viewing audience as well. Turgid is unnecessarily long-winded and verbose, using lots of big words. Are you feeling turgid?
No.
You dogs, shut the fuck up.
Oh my gosh!
That sounded so not good.
What happened?
You telling us?
Did I just see a flying animal?
I think it was a light falling, or maybe a microphone. I'm not really sure.
I just imagine him on the other side of the room just chucking his dog.
Yeah, I broke the light.
Oh my god!
Zach got attack.
So,
Oh my.
very exciting stuff. Let's see. Now it's a little darker. Let's see if I can change the lighting a bit. So, how do you all feel about that? Do you feel
How do we
worried? Are you worried? Or did you feel alarmed?
A little bit, yeah.
I feel
Just
very
confused.
interested.
Interesting. Is that a feeling? Is interest a feeling?
I feel invigorated. Indy is eating this up right now.
I think interest can be a feeling. Is it? Well,
Yeah, I think it can be another adjective for it to be fascination, being
Fascination.
enamored.
No, enamored is closer to, like, love, I feel.
Infatuation.
yeah, but not interest.
Not interest.
I apologize, Nandi. I'll go
Lower.
back to English class.
Let's
Doesn't
make good
matter.
morning an emotion. Good morning is an emotion I understand. When you
Good
wake up,
morning?
Morning?
Yes.
Good morning?
Yeah.
That's not an emotion.
it is. It's when you wake up and you're like, okay, not that bad.
That's like refreshed.
I don't think I've ever woken up like that.
Refreshed?
I'm always in a good morning when I wake up.
Yeah, probably because I stay up till like 3 or 4 in the morning. But
Do you have to get up in the morning? That's probably why. If you have to get up,
oh no,
oh, you don't? Oh, because if you have to get up
You
at a
can
certain
sleep.
time,
what were you saying,
Usually,
Casey? Or
I
Trenton?
say if you can sleep to whatever time you want, then you'll be refreshed.
Yeah, that's true.
true.
I suppose I do then.
usually, every time I wake up, it doesn't matter what time it is, it's before I've taken my medicine, so I'm usually nutty. I wake up in a really good mood, and I'm blazing around, usually fucking acting stupid or something, until I take my medicine, and then I have to be more calm, cool, and collected. But usually I'm a lot more. I'm very 90% any, 10% TI. And there's not even any other functions don't even exist.
I think I try to maintain some type of positive emotion for the majority of my time, no matter what I'm doing. And then if a situation arises where a negative emotion arises, then that's when I attempt to appear calm, cool, and collected. That may or may not work, and then I can either take that and stew with it, kind of figure out a way to turn that into some type of positive emotion, like, whether that's resolve the problem or whatever.
So why is it that you prioritize calm, cool, and collected? Do you feel as though that's the challenge, is to remain calm, cool, and collected? Or is that just your
Like, I'd
preferred
rather
way of accomplishing things?
No, I think I'd rather be calm than be sad or angry.
What about would you rather be excited or calm?
I don't. I mean, I don't know. It depends. It depends.
I strive to be calm, cool, and collected just because nothing productive comes from me when I'm in my normal chaotic state. Nothing like normal things that are usually externally verifiable as productive, quote unquote. None of that happens when I'm in my normal state, and usually.
Ideally, though, Trenton, you'll learn to turn on like type 8, basically, where you get I don't quite have it really down, like managing it. It's not really under my control. But when I eventually get it down, what will be totally under my control is Angry Eric, who sometimes it's the quickest way to accomplish things, right? And sometimes you got to develop the ability to bowl through shit and the ability to dance through shit and the ability to avoid shit. So it's tempting to be like, let's stay calm, cool, and collected. I don't think it serves us well. It might. That's why I asked her about it, because if I stay calm, cool, and collected, I'm not functioning optimally.
Oh.
That's true. I've noticed that. I feel as if I'm functioning optimally, but I'm actually not in terms of my productivity.
The thing is this: you've got to be able to switch back and forth a bit. Like right now, here in this context, it's important that I be calm, cool, and collected, but it's easy to be calm, cool, and collected. And if a disagreement were to arise and somebody wanted to throw down, it would escalate quickly. I'm sure I would be.
No, see,
if they were stubborn, I'd be like, no, I'd be like that,
Because that's what's coming at me. No, and I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna chill over here. I think bringing up Enneagram is really smart there. I feel like first, like with the emotions, the first thing I try to do is avoid the negative ones. Like I'm a 7 first, so okay, let's just avoid all these negative emotions, and then I switch to 9, where it's like, okay, I'm just gonna chill and everyone's going to get along and everything's going to be good. So it's more avoidance of a negative emotion. It's just a different way. It's just a different way to avoid the negative emotion. And then I end up on 2, which that's not really negative either. It's just kind of like I'm helping people, I guess. I don't know.
Is that 2?
I don't know how 2 really. It's helper. The
Okay.
helper.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. I don't know how the helper comes into play with emotions, but they're all, like, those 3 are all the positive types of every center. Like,
Yeah.
the most positive in every center. So, generally, I'm a positive person. That's what Enneagram tells me.
That's really interesting, JC. I love how you say I choose to be like calm and collected, or like not let the negative emotions get to me, because like as soon as like negative emotions start flowing, like that's me. Like I'm the negative emotion now, and there's nothing I can do about it until it's resolved. So I'll try and like resolve it in some way, and then I'll feel better. So my emotions kind of like, in a way, are like whatever the atmosphere of the people I'm hanging out with are, that's how I feel. And I can't really control that. So like if a fight breaks out or something, then I'll be feeling negative emotions until it's resolved. So that's really frustrating.
That is frustrating. What that means is you need to stay around EFPs all the time, because we will be happy, right? So EFPs are always happy. INFJs will stay around EFPs so that we can make you happy. That's what that is.
It really is nice though. Like I have some like FPs and like even like NTPs are like calming in that aspect. I guess because they have like lower FE, and then like my other friends like ENFPs, and my brother is ESFP. They have FI, so that's like it really calms me down. They're like they kind of feel like their own person compared to me. I don't know, and they like
They're more predictable.
yeah. Well, no, I don't know about that. Well,
I don't know if we're predictable.
The thing is,
Yeah.
I don't think
they're
ENTPs
just like more
want
down to earth.
Emotionally
ENTPs only want to
predictable.
fight with some types of people. That's the thing. We don't want to fight with everybody. We want to fight with you if we think you are projecting an attitude of entitlement or superiority in any way. Then we want to fight with you.
Factual. I agree. Concur.
Okay, well that sounds like a good stopping point then. I like to end on agreement because we've got a 2 and a 9 here. So she's a peacemaker. She doesn't like war. So yeah, we don't want to fight with you. All right,
I listen to you more.
Actually, before we end this, I wanted to say pessimistic, optimistic. I wanted to cover that real quick. Pessimistic, optimistic. ENTPs are super optimistic. What about you and your type? Pessimistic, optimistic by nature, and what changes that?
ESFPs are optimistic by nature, I think.
I concur.
I think you should be, because you are extroverted sensing, you're an extroverted perceiver as your dominant function. That means you act as your nature. You always think there's going to be some action you can take. You have a natural internal locus of control. I think that makes people optimistic.
You think all the EPs are optimistic for the
Oh
most
yeah,
part?
yeah. All the extroverted perceiving dominants are optimistic.
Right. Right, that makes sense.
I feel like that
INTJs
because
is
they can.
pessimistic.
Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead, Trenton.
I feel like it's because, well, they have SE, they can more easily identify external variables that can create harmony within themselves. So they can, where they can externally verify those little variables, they can be more apt to find physical sensory environments that would place them in a better mood or something because of that. Where an intuitive person wouldn't be able to just move to any kind of sensory environment that would influence their mood at all because they're in the same place all the time, regardless of the sensory environment.
But I think the optimism comes from the fact that the individual is in the habit of launching. Okay, so ENTP is in the habit of launching metaphysically. If we're in a bad mood, we come up with with new possibilities. We're feeling sad. When I was getting divorced, my thought process was on changes I was going to make once she was out of the house. It was on like, well, I'm going to move this shit here. I'm going to do all kinds of shit now. And I was caught up in that for quite some time, and then eventually I felt the emotions months later, basically. And it was heartbreaking, but it was fairly short-lived, and I realized what was going on. I talked myself through the whole process. I YouTubed my way through the process, and it was fine. It wasn't a difficult divorce for me particularly, and I feel
Can I ask you something?
that I'm past it. But it's because of I'll let you know, it's because of possibilities, right? We're launching possibilities, so of course we're optimistic. We're in the habit of doing stuff and thinking, here's what we could do to make change. And as a consequence, we're going to have an internal locus of control. We're going to believe ourselves agents possible of change eventually. When I was younger, I didn't, but that's because of school training you that there's nothing real to ever be done. Nothing that matters to ever be done. It makes you jaded at a really young age. But SE, they're in the habit of doing as well. Same thing. They're in the habit of doing, and so as a consequence, they got an internal locus of control. I think that's where the optimism comes from. Go ahead, Trenton.
First, I was going to ask you, in relation to how long it took you to react emotionally to your divorce, how do you think it relates to the thing I said about how it trickles down through your functions? Do you think you experienced that?
I think, well, actually, that makes perfect sense. I went first to possibilities. I thought about the divorce a lot at the same time. I tried to explain why it had occurred. Eventually, I came up with a pretty good explanation. I did reach out to other people for comfort, but not directly. Mostly through YouTube, I guess. I started at some point in that process getting a little bit of a few people commenting here and there, and that helped a little bit. And even if that didn't help,
do you feel like it was an NEFE loop?
Well, no, because it's a little bit different. Because I wasn't. If I were just going on Google Hangouts and then not recording it, then maybe. But I wasn't even doing that. I wasn't doing this back then. I was just making videos, and interactivity was limited mostly to the comments. So, with the people I reached out to in real life were, when I felt sad, I always reached out to Delilah and asked her to go to dinner with me or something. Occasionally, she would say no, and then I'd get super sad. But the other thing is, she always tells me, well, look, Dad, you know how this goes. You haven't been sleeping very well because you've been taking Adderall for a while now. You've been on cycle for a while. Now you're off cycle. You're going off cycle. You're super emotional, and you are saying things like, "Please just go to dinner," and then, but really, what you're saying is, "I miss my Adderall," and I'm like, okay, I guess that's true. So, it's like it's nice having an ENTP daughter who's willing to call shit out straight, and it helps. It helps me a lot when she uses TI to address my emotional issues.
How do you think it happened? What do you think happened when your analysis of the relationship made it down to TI? I mean, not TI. I mean, not SI.
Well, I think what happened then is I started making some videos about my past in general, but not about that relationship. I tried to, I framed out to. I think I used SI successfully in this instance. I think I dealt with this breakup successfully by going through all four cognitive functions in order, successfully though with each one. The least successful of them was the FE one probably, which is because I was in a uniquely isolated position in some sense. The closest people to me were both the two closest people to me, my wife and my best friend, were alienated from me. I didn't have either of them to turn to about this because she was the one person I couldn't call because that wasn't going to help. And then he wasn't there. So because I was so isolated, the FE didn't. And I came to understand on some level that that's not going to help. It's going to distract me right now. But I need to either get another woman or come to terms with being single. And for a while, I tried getting another woman and went on some Tinder dates, and I was just like, okay, this is too much work, too much hassle, and I am suspecting I have to sift through a lot of chaff to find any wheat. So I just resigned myself to being single, and once I realized I was okay with that I could be fine being single, I just had to deal with some of the SI stuff. I proceeded to make those nostalgia videos about my childhood, Arcadia, parents, life before and after the marriage, life with Delilah. Involves pictures without my ex-wife in them mostly. But that's the next stage probably, is some retrospectives on that period of time as well. Making it real. Finalizing it by turning it into time objects. That's one way that my SI usefully deals with those things. Other thoughts, anybody? Okay, thanks very much. Check yourself for your optimism, pessimism as it relates to where your intuition is and stuff like that. Let's come up with a theory, somebody. See you later. Thanks for watching. And remember, they go in order. I agree with Trenton.